Welcome to Legalized Negligence, where my old buddy Travis and I try to figure out how to get people involved in repealing Florida Statute 768.21 subsection 8. Um, some people don't even know what it is, but they want to repeal it. And we spend all of our time trying to figure out ways to light a fire under people and get them involved. So here we are again tonight. We are waiting to see if anybody shows up to join us in this podcast. It was announced almost a week ago, uh, that we would like some people to have a roundtable discussion with us, and three or four people said they'd like to, and I gave them my email address to contact me, and so far nobody's contacted me to send them a link to join us. So we're just going to talk. And what I wanted the roundtable discussion to be about was bringing people up to speed on strategies that Travis and I are working on to try to motivate the legislature, the lobbyists, the hospitals, the Department of Health, ACA, uh, to, let's quit playing games and let's find a solution to this problem, because we keep coming back at it every year, and maybe it's time to wise up and find a solution that works for everyone. Um, One of the things that occurred to me today, Travis, is uh, because there is such a lack of participation. You can see it in our Facebook group, you can see it on our YouTube channel. Um, People just don't want to seem to get involved. I was wondering if we're addressing the wrong audience. Everything that we have done has been to try to help surviving family members figure out how to get the law repealed. And um, I was wondering today if maybe we need to shift our focus to educating the legislators. In other words, instead of doing podcasts that help people learn how to request medical records and deal with the Department of Health, file a complaint with the Department of Health or ACA or all the things that we've done, maybe we should be making videos that legislators can watch and hear the research that we have on hand. Maybe that's what we need to do. We can always post the link to the video or the podcast in the Facebook group, but instead of, trying to share our information with those family members, let's just shift our focus to the legislature. That's who we're trying to educate.
Well, they are free to make their own rules so long as it abides by law.
Yeah. So,
So could do something.
yeah, we've always tried to make ourselves available if people had questions about 768.21 subsection 8. We've shared information with them. We've written up things. We've pointed out things, and just there is such a lack of participation that it is just really disheartening. It really is, because when somebody runs headlong into this law after they lose a family member to malpractice, they're all gung ho and fired up and want to do something about it. But when we start sharing our experience with them and what we've been through and what we found that's helpful and what's not, they all just kind of go away and we never hear from them. So, I'd like for us to start thinking about changing the way that we make our podcast and gearing it more towards the lawmakers, uh, and maybe even attorneys with the FJA, uh, and we can find ways to get our message out to those people. Um, Start doing. We've done a couple of podcasts with, like we did one with Missy, and I have asked two legislators if they would like to do a podcast with us. One of them responded that this wasn't a good time for him, and the other one never responded. But I've got a whole list of people in the legislature that I'm going to send that same email to. We can reach out to the FJA and see if they have an attorney that would like to join us in a podcast. Just shift our focus who our audience is.
Yeah.
What are your
I
thoughts on
think the
that?
FJA would be good because they actually have the skill set that we need.
Hmm. And if people from our Facebook group, want to watch the videos, great. If they can gain some knowledge from it, but instead of trying to, you know, instead of the focus being on sharing directly with them, I think we need to turn our focus to the people who can actually do something. Um, there was another thought that came to my mind today. Um, when we had our Zoom meeting with Mark Delegal a week or two ago, and he was saying, "Would you be willing to do this if we did that?" And I was thinking about the conversation you and I had a while back about, people always say, surviving family members will say it's not about the money. And when I started hearing people say it's not about the money, I started thinking, then why are you trying to get into civil court? You know, if it's not about the money, if it's about accountability, shouldn't we be trying to work on the Department of Health and ACA to make it where it's easier to hold doctors accountable through those regulating agencies? And then the thought hit me today, with the precinct requirements that are already established in law. In other words, if a family member thinks that medical malpractice occurred, they go to an attorney. The attorney kind of looks at what they have, and if the attorney thinks that there's enough there, he will get a medical expert, usually somebody on his staff or somebody that he has retained, to review the medical aspect of it and come back to him and say, "Yeah, I think you got a really good case here." And if they do, then they approach um, the defendant, who would eventually become the defendant, and say, "You need to get your medical expert because we're going to sue you. So we need to, according to Florida law, we need to sit down now and hash this out, and both sides determine if there's something worth going after." What if another compromise, along with all of that, what if another compromise would be, if the legislature is willing to do a clean repeal of subsection 8 so that everybody is on a level playing field? They can all take those steps. They can all go to an attorney. An attorney can review it. An attorney can send it on to his medical expert. The medical expert can then contact the other side and say, we're going to file a lawsuit. So it's in your best interest to sit down and talk to us with your medical expert. Would people who would like to see subsection 8 repealed be willing to say, if I get that far and I lose the malpractice case, I have to pay the defendant's legal bills?
I believe you already do that, with the
Okay.
mitigate or with the mediation
Mm-hmm.
or arbitration.
Yeah.
That's already a method.
Okay. So if a person, because sometimes an attorney is going to say to you, "Look, you've got a case here, but what you're going to get, the award or settlement that you're going to get is not worth the time and effort to put into it." you know so they're already faced with that. Those who don't fall under subsection 8 are already faced with that problem, and sometimes they have to say, "Okay, I get it, it costs too much." Kind of like if your house is hit by a tornado or a hurricane, you know the damage might be so bad that it's going to cost too much to rebuild, and so they tear the whole thing down and you have to start back from scratch. Or you wreck your automobile and the insurance company gives you the cost of the automobile because it would be too much to repair it. A similar thing like that. um, but I'm just wondering, if it's not about the money and you want to push your case further, you want to keep going with it, are you willing to take the risk that if you lose, that you're going to have to pay the other side's medical or the other side's legal bills?
Well, it's a loaded question because you don't know what what the bills would be, and there's absolutely no reason for them to talk to you if there's no risk.
The only thing that we're concerned about here are non-economic damages. Okay. The economic damages are covered. The law already allows you to cover economic damages.
Well, it's a limited set of economic damages. It's
And,
not
and,
all encompassing.
and those vary from case to case. 85-year-old retired person is not going to have the same economic damages that a 50-year-old man who owns a multi-million-dollar business would have, or a 30-year-old athlete who's got millions of dollars worth of potential income in the future. Every case is going to be different.
Right, but like if you're carrying the mortgage on the property because of the estate and whatnot, you have those, and those aren't covered under what the statute allows.
Yeah, and that's another thing to throw into the mix, is that all of this stuff has to be adjusted, but with each step, the surviving family members get to consider: do I want to keep moving forward with this? Do I want to continue to press this? My attorney thinks I've got a good case, but he doesn't think it's a great case. He might be able to get this much money, but it's not going to be a $3 million settlement. So do I want to keep pushing? And the only thing that right now kind of motivates people to keep pushing is that the attorney takes the case on a contingency. So the person is really not out anything. But what if they had some skin in the game? Now, on the other side of it, there has to be a clean repeal of subsection 8. It just has to go away. And now we're on equal footing with everybody else.
I still see that we're at a loss in terms of just equitable gains, versus what they get, because they have no, because of it's a settlement, and depending on the time and the agreement of the settlement, they get no tick on their license. Okay, and that's the biggest problem with medicine, is people settle and nothing negatively affects
the
license.
Well, that you're going to have to persuade your fellow subsection 8 people to, you can't settle, because if you settle, then all of this was for nothing.
Well, what they need to do is they just need to make it part of the agreement, is you settle with an agreement that med mal occurred, just so that it can go on their jacket.
Yeah, or that's the other side of it. We both know that doctors, they'll wait till the last minute, and then their counsel will say, well, will you settle for this much? And by that time, people are so worn out from it that they'll settle for a much lower amount. But in doing so, they give up the ability for that doctor to have a strike against him. So you could do that one of two ways. You can say, I'm not going to settle because I want him to have a strike against you, or I will agree to that settlement if he admits guilt. I'll take the lesser amount of money if he admits his guilt.
Yeah, because I see strikes as a means of bringing about better healthcare. Because you may think, I got 3 strikes, I'm good, I'll be on my A game today. But if you got 2 strikes about you already, then you are definitely going to be protecting that 3rd strike.
Yeah. And that's another thing. If I remember right, Florida still has that 3-strike law left over from Bill Clinton, don't they?
Yeah, 3 strikes rule. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that apply to? Like if you get caught smoking pot or something?
Oh, you're talking about that one? Yeah,
Yeah.
there are in fact two three strikes. There's a three strike law and the three strike rule.
Okay.
The law is three felonies,
Okay.
criminal matter. The three strike rule is medical.
Okay. Well, my point is that I'm trying to say if they have a three-strike law that applies to people who are not doctors, then why can't they have a three strikes law for people who are doctors? You know, if you can go to prison forever if you get three strikes against you for a felony, then why can't you lose your license and something else if you have three med mal claims that were successfully litigated?
You can if you fail to settle with the family who you had a wrongful death experience with,
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, it's I think people need to not settle. They need to have conviction in their case and go all the way.
yeah. You either believe in what you're doing or you don't believe in what you're doing, and if you believe in it, then you stick with it till the end. You know that I've read a lot of books over the last year about medical malpractice, and some of them have been from the doctor's point of view. And like I told you, my friend Ken, who is an anesthesiologist, explained that even if you're named in a lawsuit and it's dropped later on, you know, it never goes to trial. The fact that you were named in a lawsuit is on your record forever as a physician. And so I've read some books from the doctor's point of view, and there is a part of it that really strikes me because if I were your neighbor and I decided to sue you for something, maybe a property dispute or something else, once I file that suit against you, I'm now causing you financial harm. You've got to take time off work. You've got to hire an attorney. You've got to go through all this stuff simply because I decided to file a lawsuit against you. Now, if I lose that lawsuit, then I have to pay your legal bills because in order to make you whole, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
To make whole, yes.
Yeah. What did I say? If I'm going did
No,
I
you said it right. Yeah.
okay. Well, the same should apply to a doctor. If he is sued over something and he tries to explain to the patient's family or even the patient if they survived the negligence, look, that was not a negligent act. And an attorney looks at it and says that's not a negligent act, or a medical expert looks at it and says that was not negligence. Well, you can't expect that doctor to be out of pocket trying to defend something that was not negligence. I mean, I want to be fair to both sides. You
Mhm.
know, I want both sides. Otherwise, you're going
And
to
that's the purpose of the pre-suit.
exactly. That's what I was about to say. The pre-suit requirements are there to weed out the frivolous suits. So you've got something in place to do that. But if you are found to be uh, not, if you were found not negligent after the pre-suit stuff occurred, if it went to trial and the jury listened to the evidence and said, well, you know, we just don't find that he was negligent there. Um, Now that doctor is still out time. He had to take time away from his practice, you know, to work with his attorney to build the case. Uh, you know, his practice suffers a little bit. He suffers the mental stress that he goes over, you know, goes through. You know, he should be compensated for that if the suit is found to be in his favor. You know, it, am I making sense with that?
You are. The problem we have is we can't get to the pre-suit though because of the money factor. You
Yeah,
know,
and that's what I'm
the
saying.
the attorney is required for the pre-suit. And I don't know why the people can't get a expert witness to conduct the pre-suit, an attorney is required. So if the attorney doesn't see a windfall, money, you know, regardless of the claim, the validity of the claim, we still can't get to the expert.
Well, and that's something else that we can discuss with Mark. He's agreed to meet with us again. And, just ask him, Mark, what are you willing to do to see if you can persuade the legislators um, to get rid of that requirement that an attorney be involved? Because I can see a whole cottage industry cropping up of doctors who would be willing to be medical experts, and they have a fee that they're going to get paid. I don't know what that would be. I'll make up a number, for 500 or for $1,000, they'll review the evidence that you think you have, and they will certify it, that, look, I believe that this is malpractice here.
Yeah. Well, during our Zoom meeting with Mark, when I pointed that out to him, he was set aback to realize that you have to have an attorney, because he thought it was just a claimant. But, when he looked up the statute, he saw an attorney has to consult with an expert, and he made note of it, and he may see about removing that. But to his clientele, it serves them best not to, because that limits our ability to bring forth a claim.
And my side of that, which I think you're going to agree with, to his clientele, it serves their best interest, because if they can get rid of those bad doctors, that helps them. If these insurance companies only insured doctors that didn't have med mal claims brought against them, everything to them would be profit.
Yep.
So that's the notion that we have to sell to them. Mark, you got to get on our side and get rid of these bad doctors that nobody wants to seem to talk about. Because the more of those you get rid of, the more money your company keeps in its pocket.
Yeah. And it would be such an easy thing to just get rid of them based on the per se violations. People think, well, it's just unimportant stuff, but no, it is. As in my mom's case, those notifications, they affect the medical care. So they are important, but they're statutory. I don't know why you need an attorney or an expert even to say they broke black and white law.
Yeah.
But as you and I discussed, you must have an expert witness for medical malpractice.
And but also, like you and I discussed, if you're not filing under medical malpractice, do you need the medical expert?
True, but the judge has to see it as not being medical malpractice.
But isn't that what all court cases are about? One side is trying to persuade the judge one way, the other side's trying to persuade him the other way.
Right, but look at the issue that I'm having in my case. All the attorneys said this is medical malpractice.
I ran into the exact same thing. Even when, and that court case that I shared earlier with you today, that one attorney sent to me, and I told you spent an hour with me on the phone going over it. He told me, he said, you're 100% correct here, but nobody will touch this because it's too close to medical malpractice, and we don't want to go to court with it and then be sanctioned for filing a frivolous suit.
Right. But see, that's the judge's fault for not recognizing there are other torts other than medical malpractice. And that fear prevents you from bringing those other torts.
Yeah, and this kind of ties into another topic that I wanted the participants who said they were interested in this for all of us to discuss, because it's always better the more people you have, because you get different ideas, different viewpoints, different opinions. I think this is where the media has failed. The media in Florida seems to only want to talk to those people who will break down and start crying, who will give a really emotional, story for them to tell. Uh, they don't want to go, they don't want to do stories on how do we get this resolved. And I had one of them absolutely tell me straight up, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to do a news story on that. We want people who have, lost. I said, well, I've lost a loved one. I lost my mother, but I don't want to just sit here and tell you her story because I have 34 years of evidence that that doesn't change anything. I want to tell you what can be done to resolve the problem. And then you run your news story and let judges and attorneys and doctors see that news story and go, oh, the guy's got a point. Maybe if we approach it that way, it's like I had that one lady, I think she was from Tampa. She actually sent me a script. She wanted me to record a little short video and read her script. And I said, I'm not going to do that. You know, I've given you information to show you how this law can be repealed, and you want me to read your script to try to increase your ratings? I'm not going to do that. That's why no news stories get done with me, because I'm not going to fall into their little thing of if it bleeds, it leads. But I think the media, it plays a hand in not helping us get that part of this bigger picture out there.
Mhm.
When do you ever see them talking about a way to resolve it? They don't. The closest anyone got, I think her name was Jenna Bourne, if I remember right. And she actually pulled some statistics from the Department of Health and questioned Andy Bolin about it. That's the closest she got to it. But she never did take that extra step and say, well, Travis has this list of 28 things that could be done to help resolve this issue. She never wanted to go there. She never wanted to look at the data that I provided where we found in the task force study from 1988 that the legislature completely ignored what the task force said they should do or should not do. So I would love to see more family members when the media starts looking for a hot story again. I'd love to see more family members go, I'll be happy to talk to you about a way to resolve this, but I'm not going to sit here and feed you your lines that you've written for me just so you can get a lead story tonight. But then I'm kind of a jerk. So
I wonder what ads cost. Do little Facebook ads and reels and such.
yeah. Well, if we try to do it on television, I think they're expensive. But given your knowledge of computers and your creativity, I don't see why we couldn't make our own ads.
Yeah.
Software for stuff like that is free.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why we couldn't make our own ads and put them out there everywhere we can put them.
I think that might be a next step is to do targeted ads and pay to have a targeted audience, that they show to.
Yeah, I really understand where these surviving family members just kind of throw up their hands. I get it, man. I know what it's like to feel beat down. It's like you can't get anywhere. You can't get you think your legislature is there to protect your rights. And, you wind up realizing that you've been betrayed by your government. And you just feel defeated. Uh, but I would really like to see them kind of shake that off and go, no, I'm going to get involved. I'm going to make the effort. I am going to make time in my day to do something. I'm going to sacrifice something else so that I have time, even if it's an hour every other day or whatever they can manage in their life.
I think people, if they have a limited amount of time, is they should just file FOIAs Just do one for this agency, one for that, and just wait for it to come back. And when it
Yeah.
comes back, it's like Christmas, you
Mhm.
know, depending on the response, of course. But it's it's just good to get information that you couldn't have gotten before, especially if it proves your point and you can use it elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's so much that can be done, but you've heard me talk in private about it's just so disheartening to see people, so many members in my group and in other groups, but nobody participates. It's almost like, I said to my wife last night, I said, it's almost like it's a seasonal sport. People only get involved when the legislature goes into session. And then once that 2 months is out of a year, then March Madness starts and they start following basketball for a while. And then what comes after basketball? Baseball, whatever it is, people, and then they go on vacation, and then football season starts. And I just don't understand why people don't make it an important part of their life. But
Well, yeah, maybe they found a way to move on and we haven't, but I have children that I need to protect. So I see this as a duty to protect them.
yeah, and that's admirable, because every single family and every single person in Florida, there is a
And if,
possibility that at some point in their life, either they will fall into this category or a family member will fall into this category. It has the potential to reach every single person in the state of Florida. I even see people talking about, well, we're going on our vacation down to Destin. And I want to say to them, don't go in the hospital if you do,
yeah.
because there's this thing lurking underwater that you can't see, and it's called subsection 8. And you're going to, it's very difficult, and I get it that people have lives, and I'm retired, but not everybody is retired. I have more time in my day to spend on this stuff. But I've got to believe that if everybody looked at their life and said, where can I take an hour out of my life to dedicate to working on this, uh, and I'll probably catch grief for some of the stuff I've said tonight, but I've caught grief before.
Yeah. Well, for those who might see this after the fact, leave a comment and let us know if y'all would be interested in templates like FOIA templates or the HIPAA request
Yeah, we just
template.
we just need to be very careful with that, because we can't do anything that lawyers aren't allowed to do. Right now, since we aren't lawyers, we just share our experience with other people, but we would have to check and make sure that if we made a template for something, that it's it's
Well,
not.
it's the template I used. Template
Yeah,
I used. You might use one.
yeah,
We're just sharing what we've already used.
yeah, we would just have to be very careful. We don't give legal advice, and I'm not exactly sure where that falls. I know there's something in the law about creating documents. uh, you have to be licensed to do that. I've seen them.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen them discuss it in the paralegal groups
All right. Don't
before.
leave a comment, y'all.
No, leave a comment. you know it doesn't mean that we can't make a video,
Maybe we can get a carve out.
you know yeah. I know that there are people who write books on how to be a pro se litigant, and I'm not sure the line that they're crossing or not. On, are they giving legal advice how to do certain things? Because there's a lot of pro se litigant books out there.
Well, if they say what their experience was, it's a memoir.
Yeah. So,
Freedom of speech.
well,
Eh,
yeah, I guess we've been at it for roughly a half an hour. I'm looking at my email. Still nobody has uh, sent me a link or sent me their email so I can send them a link. Are you looking at Facebook at the moment? Can you see the group?
Let me refresh it here. I think it's because I took my beard off that they don't want to see me. Yeah, no one.
Okay. Well,
Cricket.
it might be that we've already shared everything they need to know and they got a handle on it.
Well, I wish they'd contact me and tell me.
Yeah. That was absolutely a joke because every day you and I are finding something new that we didn't know yesterday. Uh,
Yeah, I know. I'm like, as I write my rewrite for the second, third time, eighth, I find new stuff in the medical record. It's there to be found, and I can't imagine that nobody else has stuff in their medical record to be
yeah.
found. They just aren't looking, they aren't comprehending, and I don't have enough defendants, and what I filed is really what it amounts to.
Yeah, believe me, it's there. I think it's similar to I've had police officers tell me that if I want to pull you over, all I have to do is follow you for 1 mile and I can find some violation that gives me reason to pull you over. And I think the same applies to medical records. If you just spend a little time with it, you're going to find a form that hasn't been filled out completely. You're going to find a violation of uh, a policy. You're going to find a violation of the law. It's there. You know, you're going to find a discrepancy between what one person said and what another said. It's there. Every medical record has it in it.
Yeah,
And it's just a matter of, is the thing that you found, does it rise to the level of medical malpractice or ordinary negligence? You know,
yeah.
but unless you want to look for it, you know, I don't,
Maybe if they found something, they get reinvigorated.
yeah,
They got to go looking for it.
yeah, I don't know if you've had anybody tell you personally, but I've had a couple of people tell me, I just don't have the energy to do it. I tried for a year or two or whatever, but after that I just felt so defeated. I just can't spend the rest of my life doing this. And I can understand that. It would be nice if they could get past that because the more people we can get working on this, the better our chances are of having it repealed.
Yeah.
It's like Mark Delagal told us, your numbers are increasing. You're getting the attention of the legislature. It's a different world than it was, 5 or 10 years ago. We're
Yeah,
slow.
there's two ways to consider that statement. Your numbers are increasing. Either more people are learning about this and being vocal, or med mal is going up.
Yeah. Have you observed that other than that story you sent to me last night about the parents who took their little girl to the ER and they thought that she had bone fractures? You remember that one that you sent to me? I think you.
Was that the YouTube video?
Yeah, the YouTube video of the parents that they had three little girls and they took one of them
Yeah,
to.
where the doctor. Okay, no, I'm thinking of the nurse that had the heart attack, and her boss just videotaped her.
Oh yeah, no, that one you sent to me, I
Yeah.
think today. Yesterday you sent me
Mhm.
one and it was this mom and dad took their little girl to the hospital for something and they diagnosed her with multiple fractures and they took the children away from them. You know, that's the most recent thing that I saw, other than the one you sent to me this morning about, they didn't start CPR for 7 minutes, which as I watched that video, I'm going like, that woman's got agonal breathing, man. Somebody put her in Trendelenburg and start pumping on her chest. What are y'all doing just standing there videotaping this? But my question was going to be, I haven't heard any news stories about anyone who has lost someone allegedly through medical malpractice. Like we heard two or three news stories last year. I really haven't heard anything this year. Have you, that made the news anyway?
No, no, it's quiet, and like you say, the news cycle is on things other than this law.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I don't know that the malpractice has dropped. I just think the news isn't covering it. You know, when you look at a
Yeah.
larger period of time, it's not like you have spikes in malpractice and then it drops down to nothing. It's fairly steady. Um,
Hmm.
and it's just a matter of what the news reports to the public. But well, Travis, we gave it a shot. We tried to get people involved, gave them an opportunity to join us and discuss all of this. I guess I've said as much about that as
Hmm.
I can't really make any more of a point of it. But I
They
appreciate.
rather have 3 minutes or less.
Yeah, that is just beyond my understanding. That you would trade months worth of being able to get to know a legislator, get them to understand your argument, have them get on your side. You'd trade all of that to be limited to 1, 2, or 3 minutes when the delegation meetings start so that you can complain about it. I don't get that. I'm sorry. I just don't get it. But anyway, thank you for anybody who made it this far through the video. Thank you for sticking with it. We don't always remember to say like, scribe, and subscribe and share and all that, but that really does help. I know it gets old here in content creators, I guess that's what they call them, say that all the time, but it really does help the algorithm. The more likes, the more shares, the more subscriptions, the more that YouTube will push that um, video out for people to see it. And the more people we can get to see it, even if we don't teach them anything, it lets them know that this issue is out there, and maybe they'll reach out. You never know when you'll get the right attorney, the right doctor, the right somebody who says, I watched one of your podcasts and I want to get involved, you know. So,
We need them.
yeah, we
All
do.
right.
Thank you, Travis. I'm going to end the recording and then we'll chat for a minute.